Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Delaney Sexton, Lance Sexton. Yes, they are related. The recent newly minted college graduate. Congratulations, Delaney. And Lance, you're heading out of town, so well-deserved vacation. You know about the certificates? Hey, how are we doing? Oh,
the newly minted college graduates, 2 diplomas.
Well, let's see them.
Is it okay, Delaney, if I open?
Yeah. Let's see what they're... While Lance is doing that, how are we doing in fiscal year 22 for 7A? %, 1/3. Any surprises there, Lance?
I'm not surprised. I mean, it's an active year, but small businesses, again, had quite a bit of money provided to them through PPP, EIDL, and other programs. So I'm not surprised that some are not meeting their goals, because I think the demand for small business loans is probably down a little bit. Oh,
all right, what do we got here? Put it closer. We'll read it at the top. What's it say?
This is her criminal justice associate's degree.
Well, you got to hold it. I can't read the name of the school there. You got to.
Hang on, I got the. Here we go. The bachelor's degree.
Arkansas Tech University. Very good, Delaney. Congratulations. Bachelor's of Art in what? English?
English, yes.
Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. Proud of you. But 504. Same question.
I'm going to be surprised, Bob, if everybody is not well above the pace of the goal.
Well, same answers. Same answers. Interesting. About half of you are on pace, and a third are struggling. So that's. I think that's a good benchmark. I believe that's sort of what I would have guessed if I had to. Final question. And Lance and I will talk about this, but just overall, if you have one of your borrowers, if they favor speed over rate, in other words, if they can get their money in 24 hours, do they care what the rate is, or are they going to be a little bit more prudent and wait a couple of weeks to get that 7A loan?
Bob, I have always been a proponent of making your 7A lending process very efficient. I agree with the 50%.
Right.
I think most small businesses are certainly in favor of getting the money quickly over a lower interest rate.
Absolutely.
I had the conversation with a small business borrower who was looking to do a refinance and was still remembering interest rates from last year and was a little concerned because their interest rate was higher than they had talked about in the previous year. But this refinance was going to save them $1,200 per month. And I said, cash flow is king.
Right.
And
absolutely.
The borrower agreed.
Yeah. But I think that Lance and I talk a lot about things you need to do. And I was reflecting on that, and we certainly don't want to turn this into a long process. We talked about on Wednesday, Lance, when to process loans GP, and help me out here. What were the percentage of people who said over 4 weeks? I had 50% answered 3 or 4 weeks or longer to get the GP approval. And I said, well, we're not advocating slower processing speeds. We want to speed it up. And as if they can go in and get a fintech loan dumped into their account the next day, they're going to take it. They're not too concerned about the rate because they got an immediate need and it's there. So, we're giving mixed messages, which is you got to do both. Got to be prudent, but speed is king. Delaney, how are we doing on numbers with the government? There's a lot of numbers there, and I'm not going to look at them. Tell me what this report says.
Well, 7A numbers cash-wise is down, but instead we are seeing more numbers of loans. So they're really focusing on those small dollar loans when it comes to 7A. And then for
And we're
504.
down what, 5%? Okay.
Mhm.
And which means we're not going to run out of money. We're going to have plenty of authorization between now and September 30th.
Absolutely.
We're going to start the final quarter soon. And 504 is up a third.
Yes, they're doing very well, continuing to have amazing dollar amount growth and number of loan growth.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if it tapers off now that interest rates are starting to rise. I know there was a huge push on that, and rightly so. Lance, what is your interpretation of all these numbers?
Well, I think the 504 numbers will remain strong through the end of the fiscal year. And part of my thought for that, Bob, is anybody that was sitting on the fence considering a potential 504 refinance, the increases we've had in the interest rate should be like putting the pedal to the metal for them to go ahead and move forward with that project, because even with increased rates, a 504 loan is still a great deal.
And rates are going to, and everything we read, rates are going to go up before they go down. So even though they may have missed a window a couple months ago, they're going to jump. They're going to want to jump on this.
Yeah, there's still an opportunity to lock in a fixed interest rate that is a very good fixed interest rate on your project. So, I mean, I think 504 numbers will remain robust through the end of the fiscal year.
What did what does ASLAN stand for, and what did they do, Delaney?
So we do not have any information on what ASLAN actually stands for. Okay. I cannot help you there. But what they did
Go to the wrong
is...
slide, Joseph. Good to find the right slide, Joseph.
Okay, while he's doing that. So they applied for a $6.9 million PPP loan early on in PPP. Interestingly enough, they actually received $8.4 million. I'm not sure why they were given an increase, but I thought that was interesting. And they were claiming they had over 480 employees at this ministry with a monthly payroll of $2.76 million. So they originated in Ohio.
Someone do a calculator real quick. What is that average? Lance, are you on it?
Oh, I was looking up what ASLAN stands for.
ASLAN is, all right. Go ahead, Delaney.
So they were originally registered in Ohio, but on their IRS forms, it said that they were in Orlando, which is true. They never updated their forms. But another interesting fact is the Form 990, which is a tax return for nonprofit agencies, was signed by somebody with dementia, and they had no role in accounting for the ministry as far as they knew. So in the grand scheme of things with this money, they were transferring between multiple Wells Fargo accounts, multiple Bank of America accounts, and eventually it was the First American Trust Bank. Had to catch that one. The U.S. has seized a lot of this money, but apparently about $850,000 was used to buy a $3.7 million residence in the Four Seasons private residence community at Walt Disney World Resort.
Wow.
Nice.
Wonder if I could do an Airbnb there.
Yeah. And how long were they able to live in that nice residence?
That information was not given. They were eventually caught due to a speeding violation. There was allegedly computer bags, a document shredder, garbage bags full of what looked to be shredded financial documents.
Well, if you're going to shred it, toss it. Come on, guys.
Getting pulled over, driving down the interstate above the speed limit with a lot of fake financial documents, tons of shredded material. That tells the police officer, hey, I need to take a look.
Yeah, I think that I'm not a law enforcement, but I think that passes the probable cause test that they may want to ask some additional questions.
The interesting thing with this story is that so they retrieved the money from a final civil judgment to obtain the forfeiture of this, but I'm not really sure about any criminal charges as far as I've seen.
Well,
There's nothing listed.
And then they were banned from Turkey, which is another long. So all of these are we're making light of it, but all of these are red flags. Whenever you see something like this, well, why are you banned from Turkey? It's a red flag. It doesn't mean you don't want to do a transaction. It's just what's going on. 500 employees is a very large operation. What do they do? I think that's important. Obviously, huge red flag is who signed that 990. By the way, all 990s are public information. If you want to see any nonprofit 990, you go and Google it, pull it up. You can see what all the officers make. So that's an easy background check thing to do. And I know a lot of us aren't financing nonprofits, but on that one, you can pull the 990 tax return directly. You don't need a 4506, and all that information is public and is there. What did Mr. Cook Jr. do?
Well, this man, he ended up getting sentenced to a year and 9 months for this. He applied for over $100,000 in EIDL and PPP loans. He applied for about 5 using fake businesses, claiming he had 12 employees and roughly a $50,000 gross revenue. And of course, none of this was true. And interestingly enough as well, he was previously sentenced in March 2022 to 5 years in prison for the attempted robbery of an armored car delivery to a bank in 2019. So as one can assume, he was most definitely not eligible for any of these loans.
No, that's there were certainly some checks that probably needed to take place in the process of PPP that because of the need for speed, they were not done. But it's hard for me to understand how someone who is currently charged with a felony count was able to get through and get it.
Well, and pre-trial release for robbery. I guess we can give him credit for figuring out how to rob a bank without using a weapon. But the end result will be the same for this gentleman. And here's our Maserati. And Kenyatta Hooper was driving around. She doesn't drive it anymore. What did she do?
So she helped many people, including herself, apply for PPP loans using false information. There were fake documents, all of the works that you see in most of these fraud cases. But what she ended up using the money on was a Maserati, travel, concerts, and gambling.
Gambling.
Yes. Also using some of the kickbacks she received from helping other people.
Do we know how much money you say thousands of dollars? How many thousands of dollars are we talking about?
I'm not 100% sure, and I also should have started off with this, but of course this is all alleged. So we don't know yet for sure.
Okay.
I just wonder about when they're going to have the government auction of luxury cars seized during PPP.
Or the concert tickets, future football suite tickets. Yes.
Yeah.
We are going, Joseph. When are we going to announce when are we going to open this up? The BDO of the year.
This will be open later. Yeah, early next week, probably Monday. We'll get this out to everyone.
Look, this is what we do on this. We would like a submission. We would like a statement by the BDO. We would like a letter from the bank. We have also asked in the past, we leave the documentation pretty open, but a letter from the banks talking about numbers, as well as I like to hear positive case stories of BDOs that have gone above and beyond to service one of their customers. The event is, we will have about 5 winners. You and your spouse are invited down here, and then we have a 1.5-day session that we will have that with Bob Judge of Government Loan Solutions. In the past, we've had Brent Cherlino talking about BDO. We spend also an hour just talking off the record about what's going on. And we did this in South Beach. Lance, I think you've been involved with one of these. We've done it in Napa, so we will get that information out to you. Basically, you pay your way down there, and Government Loan Solutions is the sponsor, and they cover your expenses. So that's a pretty nice deal.
Very nice.
Our compensation reports are done, and these are the upcoming webinars. Lance, what July 6th, what do we mean by cleaning up your portfolio? Steps to take before start of fiscal year 2023. What are you thinking about that?
Well, cleaning up your PPP portfolio is going to consist primarily of successfully working through the guaranteed purchase process and servicing those loans where the borrower chooses to make payments on a timely basis. But, we all thought PPP would be gone by now, but, I'm here to tell you, Bob, many of us will be dealing with PPP into the year 2023.
Well, I know. We talked about webinars, and Lance will put together a list of things that you need to do that put you in best possible light for the beginning of the fiscal year. Because Congress will be bugging SBA, which in turns will be bugging the lenders. Hey, I want to finish today with a question. It came from a friend of mine, an attorney, and here's the scenario. His client has a 504 loan. And Lance, initially, when they got the loan, they had about 2/3 of the building, and they leased out 1/3. Now the business is having some problems, and so they contracted with the subtenant to take over the entire building. And he called me and said, well, what do I do? We're current on the 504 loan. Who do we notify, and what do we have to do? So what would you tell them, Lance?
Well, they're going to need to notify the certified CDC. They're going to need to notify the CDC. It's a servicing action. Servicing of 504 loans and 7A loans have a lot of similarity and some differences. But in a circumstance like this, to qualify for the loan is one thing, but if they're keeping the loan current, I think they need to communicate with their CDC, make them aware of what they're proposing to do. If I were servicing a loan like this and they were keeping it current and there was a new lease and the CDC could get an assignment of that new lease and the lease showed the ability to repay the loan, I don't see why they won't let them continue to pay as agreed.
That's what I told them. I said, as long as the loan is current, the SBA, the CDC, they're not going to go ahead and file a notice on you. They want to be current, but to notify the proper authorities. What about the first lien holder? Is there an obligation to notify them, or do they care?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The first lien holder, but from an SBA perspective, the CDC, but they're going to notify and provide the same information to the first lien holder. And quite frankly, Bob, the first lien holder's response to this is probably going to be the most critical.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know.
But I think they'll be in the same boat, Bob.
Yeah, as long as the loan's current and we know what's going on and we know who the tenant is. I like the assignment of lease transaction. Would you try to get financials on the new tenant, or is that going too far?
I mean, yes, I would like to, but
I think as long as
I think what's most important is loan is current, the new lease shows the ability to cover the debt, and we can get an assignment of that lease.
Is there a mechanism, or do we want to get the money directly from the tenant, or do we just let it go through its normal process?
That's gonna be, again, subject a lot to what the first mortgage holder decides. But generally, as long as we have an assignment of lease in place, probably let it flow the way it is.
Good, very good. Great. I'm glad that's what I said as well. Well, very good. Delaney, thank you very much for joining us. Lance, enjoy your week off. We'll see you all Monday. And thank you for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a good weekend.